Okay, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Lock Defeat Stack On Mesa 2-in-1 pick. I'm going to point out a couple of things in the locks, how they're a little bit different. I originally made a pick with a little bit different design originally for the Stack On lock. The Stack On lock, I have one in the vise here, but this is the Stack On lock here. The electronics here is mounted to the keypad. When it's operated by the combo digital lock, when it opens, it just pulls back this little solenoid here. And the key acts as a bypass. If this were to fail, this is going to pull back this whole solenoid assembly, getting rid of the blocking pin of the bolt work. This is the Stack On. The key goes in horizontal with the high side of the key facing 9 o'clock. This is a sample of one of the Stack On keys. Now, there's 200 possible key combinations. I'm aware of every single one of them, so I've seen them all. And the thing about these Mesa keys is that this is the bolt throw area here. The first cut is right there, and it's always a very high cut, which means we're going to turn the pick manipulating tip fully clockwise in that position. And the next unusual thing is the second position right here is a very deep cut, which is the total opposite direction of rotation on the lever. Originally, when I made these picks, I included the first lever as part of the bolt throw tip, which was fine, and frankly, it's a little easier to pick the lock with that style pick because it lifts up and holds that lever in position, and in turn, it takes any pressure from the single spring device in there off of the other levers, so you could manipulate the levers up and down when that's relieved. But this was the problem. While I've seen every key combination of the Stack On, I had believed that the Mesa lock, which is very similar except the key turns backwards and the key goes in at a 12 o'clock position. Just until recently, the Mesa keys followed that same design where the first cut was always the highest cut, so therefore the pick that was designed with the first cut in position already would open it. Well, I have since now found that there are Mesa locks out there that do not have the highest cut in the first position, so therefore the early design pick with that built into it will not open some of the Mesas. I probably saw 10 to 15 where it did, and this is one that I just ran into that does not have that high cut. So I had to change the design of the pick. So the original picks had 6 spaces because the first lever was taken care of by the pick. The original design had an extra portion here of the bolt throw that took care of the first. So now the latest design that will allow you to pick both of these locks under any key combination now has 7 spaces for you to handle each lever. So we're going to go over how to pick these. I find it quite easy to pick. It's just a little more difficult when you're picking all 7 as opposed to having to pick 6, but it's still very easy, and I'll try to give you a few pointers as to how to deal with it. So we're going to insert the pick. So my picks are all color-coded the same way: white, blue, yellow, green, red, black, orange. We're going to start with the white. So we're going to put the pick in with the tips facing at 9 o'clock. We'll put it completely into the lock here. And again, you don't have to put hard turning tension, just sort of a steady pressure. And we know if you're picking a Stack On lock, the first white lever position has to be turned completely clockwise. Now, you'll notice on these picks, this is one of the few picks I make where the manipulating tip has a little bit of a point to it. I try to do that to help you get by some of the levers. If you have a high and a low next to each other, it can sort of close off the keyway a little. So you have to do some wiggling to get it by, or the other trick I use is I set up the lever next to it at a half position so that I can move in and out of it. And I'll try to demonstrate that. So we'll start on this lock here. I'm going to put it into the lock facing 9 o'clock. The motion of the pick is only about 30 to 40 degrees, so it's not a long throw. You can actually turn this pick and go over and to the heel side of the lock if you wanted, but I pretty much operate from this side of the lock as far as picking. So we're going to turn the T-handle. I'm going to put a little bit of tension on it. Again, I'm not forcing it, I'm just putting a steady pressure. Now you'll notice on the first lever that you feel the spring action. Now watch this. As soon as I turn that first lever up, watch, it sort of starts to, see that? See how it started to retract? Now the problem is sometimes I might have trouble getting into the blue position now, which in this case I don't. But had I had trouble, while I was, where I know the white has to go all the way up, I'd move it up a little bit, and then I'd go to blue and I'd move it halfway. And then I go back into white and turn it up all the way, and then that will get me untrapped in the blue. So the white is all the way counterclockwise, and I know the blue is the opposite way. It's fully down to a counterclockwise position. So in theory, I have the first and second levers picked already, the white and the blue. So I'm just going to go, and we're just going to run them back and forth to feel for them. You usually sort of feel it give. When it hits the gate, it sort of, the pick sort of, you'll feel it go into like a free spot, and that's what we're looking for. I just did yellow. We'll do green, feel that back and forth. See if I feel anything. Nothing great there. I'm going to pull out to red. Did you hear that little click there? Not sure if you can hear that, but that's what we're looking for. I go into black. Hear that? I go into orange, which is the 7th one, and I just picked it. As I moved it, it just picked it. We'll do it one more time. So I'm going to put white all the way up, and if I'm trapped, you can sometimes wiggle. You're not forcing it out, but you're sort of wiggling back and forth, sometimes relaxing pressure a little bit. I was able to get the blue. I know blue is fully counterclockwise. So at this point I have white fully clockwise all the way up because it's a high cut. I come out to blue, and I want to get that down completely counterclockwise, which it is now. And now we'll progress. We'll try yellow. Hear that? That seems good. I'll move out to green. Seems pretty good there. Again, don't be afraid. You might have to go in and out a few times. I'm going to black, and then I'm going to orange. Didn't open, so I'm going back in. I'm going to make sure that white is completely up all the way, which it is. Blue needs to be completely down, which it is, and then we'll go back through them again. Yellow. Seems pretty good. Green. There we go. Green was just off a little, so you see it just opened here. We'll do one more stack on. The locks react a little differently from each other compared to their key combination, but again, stack on, we're putting the tips in facing 9 o'clock. We're going to go all the way in. I got the white position aligned here. I'm going to put a little turning tension. I know I want to move white up all the way, and then I'm going to see if I can get out to blue. Now this one, for some reason, it doesn't allow me to get out as easily, so I'm going to go back to blue. I'm going to move it up about halfway. If it stays, it may or not stay, depending on your combination. So it doesn't seem to be staying. So I'm going to move white about halfway up. I'm going to come out to blue and move it up a little bit, go back into white, go all the way in, which I just did. Now can I get by into blue yet? Again, there it goes. It just popped by there. I'm going to make sure blue is counterclockwise all the way. I go to yellow. You hear that big clunk just then? Green, back and forth, red, black, and then we'll go back in. I'll check white, make sure it's up all the way, which it is. I go to blue, and that blue just clicked in a little more. I pushed it down. It was up a little bit. So we'll go back into yellow. Feel that one. That seems pretty good. Green. Hear that? That sounds all right. Red. You see that just move a little bit? I moved up red. Black. Hear that play? That's what we want. And the orange, and it just picked open. So that's how easy it is. Again, the pick is a pick. It's not a force tool. You're feeling it out. But if you have a stack on white position, the first position is always going to be fully clockwise. Blue is always fully counterclockwise. And then just, you'll find any combination on the next ones. So that basically takes care of the stack-on version. They all pick relatively the same. But now with this pick, I can move all 7 positions any place I want, as opposed to my earlier design. The first position was stuck at the high spot because it was built into the pick. And because I've since run into a Mesa, this lock here, this lock was the first one I had seen that didn't have the highest cut in the first position. So that original pick design would not open this because it was holding the first lever too high. So we're going to put this in. The thing that's a little different about this is the pick's going to go in at 12 o'clock with the tips facing up. And the pick turns counterclockwise to open. So we're going to put the pick in with white in the first position here. Instead of turning clockwise on the T-handle, we're going to turn it counterclockwise. So I'm going counterclockwise action on the Mesa. Essentially the same lock inside. So again, we just put a little bit of counterclockwise action on it. We're going to move the white. In most cases, the white would be fully counterclockwise, but here's a situation where this one was not that way. So again, I just sort of feel it. I move to the next position, just try to find a free spot. There's yellow. I'm just trying to get some things aligned that maybe allow me to start binding some others, and I'll go back in. I'm just trying to feel them all. Go back in. I'm going to turn white up, blue, yellow, green, red. That's loose, black. There we go. See how it drops this whole, instead of being a solenoid like the Stack-On, it drops the whole magic module size lock body out of the way of the bolt work. See how it's moving up and down there? We'll do it one more time. Again, tips facing upwards at 12 o'clock. We put the pick in. We're going to put a counterclockwise direction on the pick. We're going to rotate it a little bit back and forth, so I'm going to feel white. And you'll feel, when you're moving, you'll feel all spring action on them until you get some held up, and then it sort of takes some of the power, the pressure off, because it's a single spring-loaded device on the 7 levers. It's not individually sprung levers. There's one mechanism that puts spring action on it, and that's essentially why the key is double-sided, because whenever you have that type of a lock, you need the opposite side of the key to stop it from overlifting. So that's why the pick can go back and forth to control the up and down. All right, so we'll start again here, counterclockwise on the T-handle. We're going to go back and forth a little bit on white. We're just trying to see if we can get something to bind up here. There's blue, yellow, green, red, black, orange. Go back in. Again, this is just a progression. Once you start to get 1 or 2 bound up, it will hold in position while you're picking the others. Green, this is red, black, orange. Go back into white, blue, yellow, green, red, black. There it goes. It just picked. So again, you're not forcing the tension. You're just basically, the best way I can describe it is you're just putting a slight bind on the levers. There's no rhyme to reason what order they need to be done in. If you get a case where you feel trapped in there, generally you can get by with just sort of wiggling slightly and relieving a slight tension. You can get it by. Again, you're not forcing it by it to pull it in and out to get that tip to go behind the trap lever. You're just trying to manipulate it to go through, in and out. And that's the only thing. Sometimes it just gives you a little extra work, is that you have to be able to get by to move them. But again, it doesn't hurt if you want to use an audio amplifier. You can hear that looseness in there, but a lot of times with this lock, because it's so imprecise, you'll feel the T-handle move a little bit more the direction you're trying to go. And in turn, it will make the next lever bind that wouldn't bind before, because the lever you just picked was stopping the others from binding. So you're just getting the highest lever that's hitting the fence first. You get that one done, then it allows you to get the next one. But until you get that one done, the others got to be free floating, so it's just finding the correct sequence on it. But this one has 7 spaces on it. No matter what the key combination is, you're going to be able to pick the lock. Just turning tension enough to bind it, and back and forth. In the Mesa case, you're technically going from maybe like 12 o'clock to maybe like 9 o'clock, somewhere in that area there. And when you're doing the stack-on ones, we're starting in with the tips at 9 o'clock, and we're going from about 9 to 12, and maybe not even quite that far, to like get the full combination of movement in there. So that's basically it. Just use a little bit of tension, feel for it. If you want to use an amplifier, it doesn't hurt at all. But that's all it is, and it's really a pretty easy lock to pick. All right, good luck with the tool.